Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking a truly chaotic, incredibly nostalgic, and just universally relatable slice of student life: Philippine classroom elections. Any functioning community needs leaders to keep things from falling apart, right? Well, the school classroom is absolutely no exception. But as we're going to see today, drawing from this brilliant animation by Jay Toons, the democratic process inside a classroom, it doesn't exactly go according to plan. Sometimes you get super capable leaders, and sometimes you get folks who are literally elected as a joke. So, we're breaking down the definitive classroom hierarchy, role by role, to figure out how this tiny, hilarious society actually functions.
Now, I want you to just think back to your own school days for a second. Picture this. Have you ever been sitting there, totally minding your own business on election day, when out of nowhere, you hear your name yelled out for a nomination, and it's 100% a prank? Honestly, in the Philippines, your school life just isn't complete without experiencing the sheer absolute terror of a prank nomination, or, the frustration of being scolded by a power-tripping class officer.
You can practically hear the sheer panic in this quote. "Hey, what are you doing? I'm not pretty enough to be the muse." I mean, that is the exact frantic reaction from students like Betty in our source material who find themselves spontaneously nominated for a role just for the laughs. It really hits the nail on the head, showing how classroom elections are way less about actual qualifications and way more about, who the class wants to mess with that day. The mock protests, the nervous laughter, the poor teacher trying to rein it all in, it sets up this chaotic ecosystem we're exploring perfectly.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Section 1. The President and Vice President. Now, the President is supposedly there to maintain order, right? But they usually just end up acting like a tiny dictator, demanding respect just because they want to vote.
This totally puts them at odds with everyone else, creating this classic leadership versus the people vibe. But then, then we have the vice president. The expectation here is so noble, isn't it? They're meant to be the trusted partner, the one stepping up when the president is out. But the reality? The reality is bleak. In reality, the vice president is standing at the back of the room, literally crying out of pure frustration because their classmates absolutely refuse to shut up. They're supposed to have all this authority, but instead, they're just completely exhausted from screaming at a room full of people who are completely ignoring them.
And this brilliantly illustrates that exact dynamic. Look at this contrast. On one hand, you've got this totally oblivious classmate, probably the muse, just living their best life, completely unbothered, smiling for a selfie. And on the other hand, there's the vice president, hands on hips, visibly stressed, just radiating anger. It is the perfect snapshot of that main character syndrome, where a VP is desperately trying to control this wild room while everyone else is just having a blast, totally unfazed by the supposed authority figure having an absolute meltdown.
Section 2. Secretary and Treasurer. Let's move down the food chain and look at the administrative backbone of the class, where we uncover some hilarious incompetence and, honestly, some highly questionable ethics behind these very professional-sounding titles.
Okay, so if you want to be the secretary, you need a very specific set of skills. Obviously, you've got to be good at writing, and sure, you basically act as the teacher's right hand, taking notes on everything. But the most crucial, practical, and frankly, funniest requirement? You literally have to be tall. Seriously. Why? Because you need to physically reach the very top of the blackboard to write down the names of the noisy students. It's a physical height requirement for a desk job. Just brilliant.
But hey, even with all those qualifications, things still go completely off the rails. There's this absolute gem of a story from the source. So, a hardworking secretary gets asked by another officer if they typed up the minutes of the meeting. The secretary, super proud, hands over a folder. The officer opens it, totally confused, because all it says on the page is 5 minutes and 21 seconds. I mean, the secretary took the instruction literally. They didn't summarize the discussion, they actually sat there and timed how long the meeting lasted. It's exactly this kind of innocent, well-meaning incompetence that makes the whole classroom dynamic so incredibly entertaining.
So, the crucial point is, the official title on the chalkboard rarely matches the actual job description. Take the treasurer. By definition, they are the keeper of the class funds. But in the real world of the classroom, they are the ultimate guardian of the missing appliances. Their entire existence basically boils down to one critical life-or-death mission: securing the classroom electric fan.
Which, of course, leads us to the most classic classroom scam in history. Picture it. The treasurer stands up and announces a massive 500 peso collection, a class ambagan, from every single student so they can buy 2 brand new electric fans to beat the summer heat. Reluctantly, everybody pays up. Fast forward 3 days. The treasurer stands up again to announce that actually, the plan changed. They're only buying one fan now. Or maybe the money is just being saved for later. Poof! The funds mysteriously vanish. And the kicker? The absolute best part? The very next day, that exact same treasurer struts into the classroom sporting freshly rebonded hair. It is literally grassroots corruption happening right under the teacher's nose.
Section 3. The Peace Officers. Moving further down the hierarchy, you'd probably assume these classroom enforcers are the calm, rule-abiding kids, right? Well, there is a massive irony to this role.
Seriously, are they the classroom police, or are they the main instigators of the chaos? Honestly, the answer is both. They bounce wildly back and forth. One minute they're causing all the trouble, and the next, they flip a switch and start furiously enforcing the rules. And why do they suddenly care about the rules? Usually it's just to stop the overly stressed, feeling officers, like our poor crying vice president from earlier, from having another total emotional breakdown. They are absolutely the wild cards of the classroom.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer, unhinged intensity of how these peace officers operate. Get a load of this quote. "You want your stomach to turn upside down?" Yes, that is a direct, violent threat from a peace officer to a classmate. The context? Well, the peace officer caught a student hiding a cheat sheet under her skirt during a quiz. When the cheater tried to play it cool, claiming she was just scratching her leg, the peace officer went full-blown interrogator on her, threatening to drag her straight to the guidance counselor. It just goes to show how a tiny taste of authority can turn an average middle schooler into a hardened, grizzled detective.
Section 4. The Muse and Escort. Finally, we reach the purely aesthetic roles at the bottom of the ballot, which really makes you question why a classroom even needs them in the first place, unless there's a sports fest pageant coming up.
As it turns out, there are exactly 3 ways you end up in these roles. Number 1, you're legitimately the most handsome or pretty person in the room, which makes you a solid bet for the school pageant. Fair enough. Number 2, you are the victim of a massive, coordinated class prank. Like, the source highlights this classic scenario where the class forcibly elects a tomboy as the muse, totally against her will, just to mess with her. And number 3, you get shipped. The class basically decides to forcefully play matchmaker for 2 awkward classmates, like Anna and Brando here, nominating them together purely for the giggles and just to watch them squirm in embarrassment. It is a hilariously unfair, wonderfully chaotic democratic process.
Section 5. What kind of officer are you? And that brings our classroom microcosm full circle. From the power-tripping president to the corrupt treasurer with the brand new hair, all the way to the prank victim muse. These roles really are a perfect, hilarious little slice of society, all playing out right there between the 4 walls of a classroom.
So we're going to wrap up this explainer right here. But before we go, I want to leave you with this. Look back at this whole hierarchy we just walked through. Which one were you? Were you the super serious leader, the crying VP, the chaotic peace officer, or maybe the deeply reluctant muse? Take a second to really reflect on your own school days. It's a shared experience that unites anyone who's gone through the Philippine school system. I definitely encourage you to jump into the comments and share your own nostalgic classroom stories wherever you're discussing this. Thanks for joining me on this awesome trip down memory lane. Keep learning, keep reflecting, and I will see you in the next explainer.